Hello everybody, it's Mary with Stamps-N-Lingers, and it is Saturday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, so we're going to have us a video tutorial. We'll give us a few minutes until everybody can get on, and I'll refresh the screen over here off camera so that you can, so I can be sure that we're transmitilating like we should be. I hope we are. It says we are, but you know, Facebook never lies. I see I've got a couple of people coming on. Yay! Hey, Patricia. Thank you for joining me tonight. I appreciate you. All right. We're going to get started here in just a minute. Hey, Roz. Glad you could join. I appreciate y'all spending part of your Super Bowl weekend with me. Do y'all have a dog in the hunt tomorrow? That's the question. Or are you just watching like I will for the commercials and the halftime show? Hey, Kathy. Hi, Jean and Sharon and Bill and Janet. Appreciate you guys joining me. Looks like, I think I heard you guys maybe getting a little weather down there. I don't know. I saw Miami was looking at having some weather. Hey, Nance. How are you? Hi, Nancy. Good to see you. Hi, Patty. Appreciate y'all joining. All right. So, as we go ahead and get started, you can see the card that I gave you the sneak peek of. Couple of things that are in this card. You can see the Heartfelt stamp set is kind of the basis for the card with its pretty hearts and Valentine themed sentiments. And of course that comes bundled. You can get that bundled. Oh, Kathy, I'm so sorry. Hope you get to feeling better soon. Hey, Karma. Hi, Kathy Lou. Hi, Lynn. The Heartfelt stamp set you can get bundled with the Heart Punch pack, and you get both of the punches. One is a straight side, and it's a little bit smaller than the scalloped edge heart, which means they're perfect for matting and layering with each other. And this scallop actually matches this printed heart exactly. I tried desperately to use this heart for this stamp because I really love it, especially cut out with the punch, but it ended up not working out the way I thought it ought to. So, hey, Lenny. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I don't know if you can see the background of this very well, but it is the Detailed Hearts dies. And what I did is I created an ombre effect, and I'm going to show you how to do that. It's pretty easy. It's a little persnickety, but not too horrible. And then on the inside, I've got a couple of images and a sentiment stamped. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Hey, Robbie. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right. Now, here are all of the pieces and parts, and this is all on my blog for tomorrow. You can see I've got a silver glimmer heart. This is cut with the scalloped edge heart punch. And then I've got some strips and a couple of pieces of white and an envelope, an envelope. Actually, I've only got, okay, now wait a minute. Somewhere or another, I have an embossed card front. Just a second, here it goes. It's over here, I'm sure it's here. There we go. Okay, so I've got an inner liner and a piece of Whisper White. Now this Whisper White, maybe you can see it, maybe you can't, has been embossed already in the subtle 3D embossing folder. Nan, let me help you with your list. I promise I can. All right, so I've embossed that in the subtle embossing folder, and that's going to become our card front. So let's go ahead, we'll get that adhered now, and then we can get started. All right, so I really like, I don't know about you guys, but I really like the color combination of black and white and then pink. I really think that is a very classy, makes me think of Audrey Hepburn for some reason. So I really like it, and that's how this one turned out. So I'm just going to go ahead and mat on my piece of basic black, and this is a pretty basic sizes. My mat is 4 inches by 5 1/4, which makes my Whisper White front 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. Now let me remind you of the technique that I like to do when I'm going to emboss a card front. I cut the panel larger than I need, and then I emboss it, and then I cut it down to the exact size, because when you emboss, it can kind of misshape the paper a little bit because it stretches the fibers of the paper and it isn't always exactly straight. So I have had better luck. It makes me happier to make it a little big, emboss it, and then cut it down to size. All right. Yes, see, it's very classy. Yes, Mary, I love the embossing folders. I don't know about y'all, but when a new catalog comes out, I just go buy every new embossing folder straight up because I love them. I really do love them quite a bit. Okay, so this is the inner liner, so I'm not going to use it. All right, so let's talk about our detailed die. What I did is I picked some pinks, my versions of pinks. You obviously could do this with any color combination. You could do blues, you could do greens, you could yellows, whatever. And I cut 1 1/8 inch wide strips, and they're kind of randomly lengthed based on what I had sitting around. So I've got Lovely Lipstick, Mango Melody, no, Melon Mambo, sorry, Flirty Flamingo, Blushing Bride, and Petal Pink. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to adhere these with liquid glue to a random piece of Whisper White cardstock. Hi, Barb. Amy is always late. All right, so here's the kind of the trick. Because we're going to be die cutting this, you kind of want to be a little overzealous maybe with your liquid glue. Okay, it doesn't have to be caked on, but you really want there to be plenty of it. And for this first piece, if you take the moment to make sure that it's lined up even, then with each subsequent piece of cardstock, you're going to keep your lines straight. I hope that made sense to you. All right, so I've got the Lovely Lipstick down, and now I'm going to put the Melon Mambo down. And I just kind of went from dark to lighter in my mind. This is dark to lighter. I think it's pretty good. Then we've got Flirty Flamingo. And that's going to go off the edge, and that'll be all right. I'm going to turn it over here in just a second and wipe it off a little bit, just so that I don't have a huge mess. Because, you know, I can make a mess. There is no doubt about it. I am potentially the queen of mess makers. It's true. It's not a thing I'm particularly proud of, but anytime you can have a title, I think it's worth aiming for. But you guys can't have it because I've already got it. Queen of mess makers. Okay. So those are down, and now I've got the Blushing Bride coming. And this is going to be one of those times when I'm going to actually do die cutting on screen. And I'm not going to fib. It is, I don't want to say persnickety, but it's a little persnickety because it's quite thick now, okay? Because you've got cardstock and cardstock. And that is quite thick. And so you have to do a good job cutting, and you have to be persistent, and you have to make sure you've got a good cut. Okay, so let me clean that up a little bit. Why is it doing that? Do it 100%. That is correct. Yes, I can wipe right or left-handed. There's a lot of things I can do right or left-handed. Writing is not one of them. Sometimes typing is one of them, you know, like this weirdness. My little weird typing methodology that I use. Okay, so let's bring over our die cut machine. Here we go. Let me move some of this stuff out the way. It's going to be really close to the camera, and I apologize ahead of time. So what I'm doing here is I'm just lining this up on my now ombre-fied panel and just kind of trying to make it even on there. And we're going to run it through back and forth a few times, okay? Because this was the one thing that was hard when I did this the first time, is I I got impatient and I tried to take it out too quick. Now you're going through a lot of cardstock, okay? And the dies are good, but it's not always meant to go through that much cardstock. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna pick it up and keep everything in place. And I'm gonna turn it this way to give it a little extra help. Okay, we're gonna see if that helps me any. I'm experimenting now, people. Experimenting is taking place as we speak. One more, and then we're gonna come back, and that ought to get it. And if it doesn't, well, then I'm gonna be sitting here poking out hearts for a while. The precision plate might help, but it might help. The biggest issue here is just the very thickness of the die, but I think we're gonna have some success here. All right, so let's go ahead and just move that out the way. And when I panic and can't find that die, somebody just remind me I left it on the platform, okay? That would be awesome. All right, let's see what we got here. And we're just gonna kind of carefully spend the time it takes to disentangle the die from all of that cardstock. Just like that. When I first made this, I was like, oh my Lord, that is not good. There's no ombre-ness. It's just one pink, another pink, another pink, another pink. But once you get all of the surrounding cardstock off, it becomes a much more subtle transition. Much nicer, at least in Mary's book. I think this would also be really pretty in blues. Wouldn't be quite as Valentine-y, certainly, but you know, we've been trained by Hallmark that Valentines must be in red and pink. And so it is in red and pink. All right? I will not buck the tradition of Hallmark. All right. There we go. Now you can maybe see, I'm not sure if you can really see why it was important to get plenty of glue, but it's important to get plenty of glue on those on those strips of cardstock. Come here, pick up. I mean, even this is kind of fun. I like this. I don't know what you could do with that, but you could probably do something. Certainly you could do something. All right, and then we got a whole bunch of hearts, and if you're one of those people who saves everything, you could certainly save all these hearts. I am not going to save all these hearts. When I made the first one, I thought, you should save all those hearts. And then I thought, no, you don't need to do that, Mary. Don't be saving all those hearts. So now I'm just pushing them all out. And to be quite honest, if one doesn't want to go out, I'm not going to push it very hard. I'm just not going to get too head up about it. I believe a mosquito just flew by. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely correct, Mary. This would be a perfect challenge for the February challenge at Stamp with Amy K. It certainly would. Yes, it would. All right, so we're just getting these out. Now, some of you may be saying, and you may have even actually already said, men might actually appreciate blue hearts. Oh gosh, what was I going to say? Oh, some of you may think as we go forward with this, I wonder why she didn't use the adhesive sheets. And I considered that. And then I thought, I didn't consider it for the first one because I'm a liquid glue girl all the time. And the adhesive sheets are kind of out of the cross-check for me. But then I thought about it. And I'm going to show you why I don't think I would do that. Obviously I didn't because I thought I didn't do it for this one because I thought it through and I came up with a different reason, but I'm going to tell you why. Okay, so just so you know that turning it upside down really helped a lot. Even though this looks persnickety, it's only persnickety because there's a lot of hearts to push out. They're all coming out cleanly and nice, and that's a good thing because the first one wasn't always so perfect like that. Now, what you'll see as you do this are some spots where the colored cardstock may have come up from the background cardstock a little bit, and we can fix that with just a little dab of glue, and we'll do that as we need it after we get it on the card front. Okay, so now I've got all of the hearts that are meant to come out are all out now. Let me get that. I've got some hanging chads. I have hanging chads. We have new voting machines in Georgia, so there will be no hanging chads in 2020. No hanging chads. Okay. All right, so let's get those messes out of the way. And now, hey, Tanya, our challenge is on our team blog. So we have a challenge on Amy's and on my team's blog too. So, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to adhere this down now with more liquid glue. And I'm going to show you why I didn't use adhesive sheets. This is kind of a fluid die cut, if you know what I'm saying. So if you had this all sticky right now, you wouldn't have any wiggle room to make it to get it put where you want it exactly. So to me, it is worth the effort to put the liquid glue on the back, okay? If you think you could lay it down better and would prefer to use the adhesive sheets, I think that would be a very worthwhile thing to try for you. But for me, it's just easier to do liquid glue. And really all I'm doing is kind of trying to get little dabs of liquid glue as good as I can around. I'm putting them for certain sure on the solid hearts, and then I'm just kind of dabbing around everywhere else. You want it to stay on the card front, obviously, because, falling off is a really bad first impression. Oh, I just took it out of the envelope and the whole card front fell off. Oh. Yeah, no, you really don't want that. Okay, so we're just going to do some dabbing and some dabbing, and we're dabbing. Really want to concentrate on the edges for sure. Want to be sure all the edges are down. And of course, if we find some spots that didn't hook down very good, we can go back and kind of fix them. But it's easier to get a good start when you've got it where you can really see it. Okay, so just get some little bitty dabs of glue everywhere. Now the good news is this is such an easy, once you get past this semi-persnickety portion of the agenda, it becomes very simple. Okay, so we're just going to get that top stuck down, and then we can kind of manipulate the bottom of the die to be how we want. And see, if you had the adhesive sheets on the back, you wouldn't have that luxury. Okay, yes, I live in a world where it's a luxury to be able to move my dies. Okay, all right, we got some hanging chads. Just kind of pick those off. I promise this is worth doing. Okay, are you going to make 2,000 of these? No, these are not the cards that you are going to send with your kids to school for Valentine's Day. Okay, this is a one-off kind of a card, kind of a special card. Okay, so the other thing about it is that it's really actually relatively flat, and so it's going to be pretty easy to mail. Yes, all right, so there we go. I see we're talking about organizing. That's good. Anybody who wants to come and organize my house is certainly welcome to do that. I would be more than grateful. I just placed a pretty good size 31 order. So I'm getting some rectangles, and I'm going to use, oh dear God, what did you just do? Mary, Mary, Mary. I just went crazy with the glue there. You can't see it, but it went crazy, trust me. I just went crazy with the glue. Okay, so now we've got that. Let's see, what do we got? Like that not all the hearts are punched. That's correct. These that are here are designed by the die to stay in. Okay, now you could, if you wanted more, you could certainly pick up some of your die cuts and go back and adhere them in. However, you got to find them where they go. Okay, but I kind of liked this mix that I got here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take our ribbon. We're going to lay a piece of ribbon across like that. So I'll cut that. And I'm going to go ahead and cut that other end so that it goes the same direction. Like that. And I'm going to do a better job of it than I just did because that was really not good. And then I'm just going to lay down some liquid glue here and lay down my piece of ribbon. Like that. Okay. All right. So now let's set that aside for a second. I already punched my silver glimmer matte using the scalloped heart. So now we're going to make the sentiment, and I'm going to use my Stamps-N-Lingers for that. Because I want to be, this is one of those solid dies, you know, where it's solid and then the sentiment is cut out. Let me remind you. If you did a video tour of our stash setup and how you use 31. Okay, I can probably do that. And Kathy, you've got your Stampin' Storage coming. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so here is what the sentiment is that we're aiming at. So I'm just going to take a piece of, somewhere I cut a piece of scrapish paper. There we go. And we're going to put that on our Stamp-N-Lingers. And I am doing this in Flirty Flamingo. And giving it a good one. And tip, if you get it all over your acrylic plate, wipe it up. Just trust me on that. Just trust me on that. Okay, yep, that turned out okay. I'll take it. Close up my ink pad before I do something foolish, like get it everywhere. All right, and this one is with the, okay, I gotta cut a little bit off the bottom because I went just a little bit too high up. Remember when you're stamping, if you can remember what orientation your punch goes in, it will make your life much easier. It's not a mandatory thing. You can certainly cut away at your cardstock until you get it where you can punch, but it is handy. So all I'm doing is I'm just eyeballing the rim and then punching that out. Okay. And then we'll set this aside for a second, but we're going to need him back in a minute. And then I'm going to use some more liquid glue to adhere this to the glimmer paper. Do you guys remember the old glimmer paper, how you could not glue to it to save your life? Well, the new formula of glimmer paper, that is not a problem anymore. That is not a problem anymore. It works fine. And I'm going to adhere it to the card front also with liquid glue. And I did that in the normal scheme of things. I probably would have done this with dimensionals, but I wasn't liking how I thought the bow was going to look with it popped up, and so I didn't. I put it straight flat down. I got the big Stampin' Storage holder for punches. It's hard to find a place. Yes. One of the good things about buying all of the storage pieces is it kind of forces you to think about where everything is, right? And that's really never a bad thing. Okay, so now I'm going to do a bow with my bow easy, because, you know, we all like a good bow easy. I like my bows easy. Yeah, that was a joke. It just wasn't very funny. All right. And here we go. We'll cut off our end and make our bow. This 1/2-inch satin ribbon is such a nice bow maker. Really makes pretty bows. And so that's really nice. Sometimes ribbon doesn't make beautiful bows. It looks really pretty, but it doesn't want to bowify very good, I have noticed. Sometimes my big old clunky fingers don't want to make the bow. There we go. We'll get it. I'm going to get it. Now remember, if you use some kind of a bow maker of any sort, go ahead and leave the bow on the maker as you fiddle with the knot, okay? Because it's a lot easier to get everything straight and snug when those loops, because you know, it's not like a real bow. It's kind of like a grouping of slip knots, really. Okay, so get everything straight before you pull it off, and you will make your life much easier. Now remember also, when you're working, remember I worked from this direction, that's the back of the bow. So this is where you want it to look pretty. You want it to be even on both sides of the knot, and you want the tails kind of aiming down, okay? And then you can pull it off. There we go. See what a pretty bow that ribbon makes? Really, really nice. I love the 1/2" satin ribbon. Okay, and so now I'm just going to take a glue dot, which I am going to locate here any second. There it is. And we're going to use a glue dot to adhere this, and that's going to be it for the card front. Now, you could get real busy with maybe like the faceted gems, but one thing to note, the DSP and the faceted gems are kind of anchored with real red, and I didn't use real red. I think it's more red than pink, and I went with a pink theme. So if you wanted to use the real reds, then you might want to rethink maybe your ombre, okay? So now I've got a glue dot, and I'm just going to put that right there next to my sentiment. And then I'm going to cut off the tails to be reasonably sized. And that's going to be it for the card front. There. What do you think? Kind of pretty, huh? Simple. I love the black and white with the pinks. And that ombre is there. Your eye knows that it's ombre, but it is not nearly as glaring as, remember how this looked, right? I mean, you can see it really tones it down when you get the die cut out. Okay, let's set this aside, and then we're going to do the inside. And let me remind you what we're aiming at. Thank you. Yes, Tanya, please feel free to case. All right, so this is what our inside is, and we're going to use, I'm going to use my Stamps-N-Lingers because I sometimes have difficulty getting my tuxedo black to get me as dark an image as I want right off the bat. And so I like to use the Stamps-N-Lingers, especially if I am doing, you know, black stuff like that. Okay, so first off, we're going to put our Whisper White piece in. And let's see. I don't actually need the Stamps-N-Lingers for the sentiment. So let's go ahead and do this. We're going to stamp this in Flirty Flamingo, and this is the From My Heart to Yours sentiment. And just saying, if you get it all over your acrylic block, you might want to wipe it off. Unless you want to have to cut another piece of white cardstock. And we're just going to put that right in the middle. Hold it a beat. There we go. All right. Now, there's this adorable little, I love this. This stamp right here is just dots. And I'm going to frame my sentiment with the dots. I think I have a fin here. There we go. And I'm just kind of butting the center up on the center of I'm eyeballing the center of my sentiment. So then I'll pick that up and use my tuxedo black. Thank you, Patricia. Okay, we're just going to ink that up. And since I'm using the Stamps-N-Lingers, it will work perfectly the first time. If I was not using the Stamps-N-Lingers, it would give me a half-hearted image. But it didn't, so yay! Okay, now I'm going to turn my panel. Now, what I did before you joined is I took a sticky note and I used the smaller straight-edged heart and I cut a sticky note mask. And so I am going to put that over it, and you're going to notice, you're going to be like, Mare, it's too big. Yes, it is, but we're going to fix it, I promise. Okay, now I'm going to take the arrow, Cupid's arrow, and I'm going to lay it where I want it across my heart like that. And pick it up. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and put a magnet down just to help it out. Okay, now we're going to ink this. This is Melon Mambo. Excuse me. And I'm going to lay that down like so. And pick up my mask. Now, because the mask is a little bit bigger, I'm just going to take my Stampin' Right marker in Melon Mambo. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to set this aside so that I can do it correctly and have a 1% chance of not messing it up. And I'm just going to close the gap here. Like that. Okay. And I got just a tiny little bit of ink, so I'm going to use my eraser. I've only been doing this for 5 years now, and 2 months ago, I finally bought a Tombow Mono sand and rubber eraser for ink and pencil. Finally, yes. Okay. So that is now ready to put on our black mat and put it into our card base, and then we can do a quick envelope, and we will be done, ska. Hey, guess what's coming out on Tuesday? Say it with me. The Coordination Products release. Yay, with the dies for the ladybug and the special day dies and the sending flowers dies. It's gonna be wonderful. How awesome will it be to be able to cut out all of those images that we like so much. Cannot wait for y'all to get your hands on those. All right, now, let me see here. I've got a Flirty Flamingo card base, and I like the Flirty Flamingo because it pulls out my sentiment, but I think you probably could have used Melon Mambo as well, pretty easily, and been fine. So if you prefer Melon Mambo, please, feel free. I probably wouldn't go with the other colors in the ombre because I tend to stick with the main colors of my ink. So I've got Melon Mambo ink and Flirty Flamingo, and so the Flirty made sense to me, and the Melon Mambo would make sense to me. The other two would not make sense to me. But that's just me. And that's probably why I'm not really an artist. I'm just a big old card maker. Okay, now I'm using some of my black Stampin' Dimensionals. Yes, the raccoons are going to be wonderful. Yes, the erasers come from Amazon, from whence all good things come. And I know I told Amy this week that I had been cutting them, but really, I haven't been doing a lot of cutting of the big ones. I've been doing the cutting of the edges. And by cutting, I mean I'm coming in ahead of time and doing this so that I've got them all ready to go. That's really all I've done. Okay, so just so you know, I can't quite bring myself to do a full-scale cutting. I just can't do it. I got nothing else to say. All right. Here we go. Love the black dimensionals when you're using a black mat. It really is nice, I think. I think it's really quite nice. And we're just going to center that up. Like so. Now I'm going to show you a little trick, okay? Can you see right here how I've lost a little tiny bit of the petal pink cardstock? Let me show you a trick. This is why you should always have every single Stampin' Write marker that you have colors for. I'm going to come in there and I am very, very lightly going to color that white background, that white cardstock. Now, if somebody got their monocle out and looked, they would see this. But most people don't do that. They just don't. All right, so now it effectively disappeared. Okay, so remember, it's paper and ink. Don't let it get the best of you. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and do a quick envelope, and we're going to repeat the black heart. And what I did is I'm going to go ahead and clean that off. And we're going to stamp, mask, and stamp, just like we did on the inside of the card. But here's a little trick I want to show you. You can get yourself to where your heart, or no, this is an arrow, not a heart. You can get yourself to where your arrow won't fit correctly on your envelope. So place your arrow first and then line up your heart over the top of it. So that's where we want to be. That's how far out we need to be. Okay. We'll go just like that. Okay, there we go. That's gonna make me happier. Okay, we'll just flip this. You know, that's one of the coolest things about this, about the Stampopotamus, is the ability to flip and turn and move and get everything lined up just exactly how you want it. And to be able to line up 2 stamps at one time, priceless. It's just priceless, I tell you. All right, and then we'll close up our ink pad. I am getting ink glue everywhere. I'm getting it everywhere. We'll put our mat back down. Here we go. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Kathy. All right. One thing about Melon Mambo is you can see when it's gone everywhere. All right, there we go. And then we'll pick him up and put this aside for a second because we don't need him again. All right, we're gonna close our little gap. Like that. And let me see if I can get this to go away for a little bit. That'll be fine. Oh. Okay, if any of you get this card in the mail, you're gonna notice. I do that more than I want to tell you about. Oh well, that's okay. Oh, I just tickle myself no end with my goofology-ness, my goofiness. My goofiness just tickles me no end. All right. That's killing me. All right. So I'm going to use the pretty lace heart. We're going to decorate this just as if it had not been Borkified. I'm going to use the pretty lace heart right in the middle of the envelope flap, like so. Yep, that's what I'm going to do, is put the return address right in the middle of the heart. It'll be like I meant to do it, except for the fact that it's upside down. Hey, you know what I was trying to do. Watch this. Presto, changeo. It's perfect again. Woohoo! All right. Okay, so the point of this was not how to do an envelope, because this is not how to do an envelope. The point was to show you how to make the ombre background with the detailed hearts dies. All right, guys. I appreciate you taking the time with me tonight. I hope you have fun with the Super Bowl tomorrow. Enjoy the commercials. That's really the best part of it. Although I admit I do enjoy the games, except I'm only 49ers and Chiefs. Is that right? I think that's right. Okay. All right. Well, have fun, and we will see you guys. Oh, I wanted to tell you guys one thing. I'm probably gonna try to get on and do a YouTube live sometime in the week. So search me out, Stamps-N-Lingers on YouTube, and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you will get notification, and you can come on and watch the video for the card that I will share with you next week. All right. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.